We are in India, and from one of the sumptuous palaces of His Highness, the Maharana of Udaipur, we gaze upon a picturesque lake about which a rather interesting story is told. According to a popular legend, one of the reigning Maharanas of Udaipur was in love with a beautiful dancing girl who was also proficient in the art of tightrope walking. By way of diversion, he promised the young lady half of his kingdom if she succeeded in walking over this lake on a rope that was suspended above the water. Naturally, she accepted the offer, and when it was apparent that she was about to succeed, one of the Maharana's ministers, who was not in sympathy with the idea, cut the rope, and consequently the girl fell into the water and was drowned. A stony grave in the bottom of the lake now commemorates her memory, and it is said that at night, when the moon is full, her ghost is seen upon a rope running back and forth across the lake. Udaipur is one of the 20 or more independent states in that part of India known as Rajputana, and it was named after its founder, Udai Singh, whose ancestors settled here over 9 centuries ago. The population of the state is about 1.5 million, and Udaipur city, which we now behold, is a present capital. Wherever there is a lake or a river of any consequence in India, scenes like this are inevitably associated with it, because in addition to the laundry facilities, bathing is a vital part of the Hindu religion, and bodies of water such as we see here seem to add fervor to the Hindus' devotion. Each caste is carefully segregated from the other by walls leading to the water's edge. "Who is thy neighbor?" asked the Hindu, and his religion replies, "The man of your own caste." Not far from the lake is an imposing gateway which leads into the business districts of the city, where life goes on in picturesque and colorful profusion. It is said that millions of worthless cattle, made and kept worthless by the Hindu religious code, roam over India, devouring annually tons of food for which they produce nothing. Note the cow in the foreground stealing a cabbage from the vegetable stand. But this time she doesn't get away with it. Back on the stand it goes, and business goes on as usual. The cotton cloth, which is worn so generally throughout India, is often dyed by this primitive method. Red is usually the favorite color, and it appears most conspicuously among the turbans worn by the men. Street musicians specialize in roaming the land, performing for marriages, funerals, and all other occasions where their strange music is essential. Their costumes are usually made up of rags and are designed after the fashion of those worn by the street musicians of ancient India. In walking about the streets of Udaipur, one must get used to head-on collisions with cattle, for there are no sidewalks and a cow is always entitled to the right of way. Most of the heavy work in India is performed by women of the lower caste, while the men appear to take advantage of the leisure and overlordship, which has been their prerogative since time began. The Hindu scriptures condemn agriculture as a degrading pursuit, which should be avoided by the truly pious. As a consequence, very few men of the 2 highest castes, the priestly Brahmins and the warrior Rajputs, will so much as lay hands upon a plow, the large areas which many of them hold being cultivated for them in slovenly fashion by hired labor. According to his doctrine of transmigration, the Hindu believes that he has lived before, and at death his soul passes into another body, the nature of which depends upon the manner of his present life. Because of this theory, the meanest and poorest of mortals receive no pity, as they are merely paying the penalty for some offense which they are supposed to have committed in a previous existence. Every afternoon before sunset in the suburbs of Udaipur, an interesting event takes place, and it is called the feeding of the wild boars. According to a legend, a wild boar once led a Hindu prince to a place where the prince's kidnapped wife had been taken. And since that time, boars are considered holy and are fed by the state. The Hindu temple at Udaipur commemorates the oldest living religion known to man, and it stands as a symbol of thought beyond the comprehension of Western minds. Everything in the life of a Hindu begins and ends with his religion. He does not believe that all men were created equal, and he accepts his position in life as the will of fate. Inside the palace of His Highness, the Maharana, we had the rare privilege of photographing one of the reception halls, where the lords of Rajputana sit in waiting for His Highness, the Maharana. The colorful decorations which adorn the walls are of unusual significance, for they are emblems of courage and pride, two of the outstanding traits of the Rajputs, who glorify the proud peacock as a symbol of their own pride. And in this colorful setting, we are introduced to a few typical representatives of the Rajputs. Being great warriors, their ancestors defied the Mohammedan conquest of India. And if they looked anything like this fellow, we don't wonder that the Mohammedans never conquered them. It is difficult to believe that so fierce a warrior could be the father of this little girl, who salams a farewell greeting to us with all the solemnity and poise of a true daughter of the Rajputs. The main palace of His Highness, the Maharana, is a grand tribute to the artistic taste of a people who have preserved their traditions for thousands of years and continue to live in a world of their own, quite apart from the influence of Western civilization, where life at its best is a trying experience compared to the peace and tranquility that we find here. And it is with this thought that we say farewell to picturesque Udaipur.